Rose wakes up slowly. Where am I? The first thing she asks herself is where she is. She looks around the room and realizes she's in a glowing white room with white walls and a white ceiling. Wait a second, there aren't any windows. And what's that strange symbol over there? It almost looks like a spider web, but it's way too big to be a real one, and she knows that if she were to touch it, she would be met with searing pain. She sits up on the bed and notices that her clothes are different than the ones she wore yesterday. What is going on here? She can't remember anything. Who am I? She doesn't even know who she is. She gets out of bed and walks towards the door, but when she reaches out to open it, she finds that there isn't one. Panic starts to set in. She starts running around the room looking for an exit. But no matter where she goes, there's only more of the same white walls. There's no windows or doors. She collapses onto the floor, defeated. Why am I here? What did I do to deserve this? She thought she could hear a voice whispering to her, but when she turned her head, she saw no one. Was she going crazy? Was this some kind of joke played by her friends? She had no way of knowing. She lays on the floor for what felt like hours, just staring at the white ceiling. She closed her eyes and tried to calm down. Maybe she should try to relax. If this was a dream, then she should be able to wake up soon, right? But as time went on, she began to panic again. She needed to get out of here. She started to walk again, but this time she noticed something strange. As she walked, the room seemed to change. The walls began to ripple and she saw strange patterns forming on them. At first, it was faint, but as she continued walking, the patterns became more clear. She realized that they were faces, many faces staring directly at her. Some of them looked normal, while others looked twisted and grotesque. Some were smiling, while others were screaming. She could feel their eyes boring into her, trying to pierce her mind. She stopped walking and turned around, but the faces were everywhere. There were too many of them. They surrounded her, trapping her in their gaze. She started to scream, but no sound came out. She tried to run, but her feet were stuck to the floor. She couldn't move. She could feel their eyes burning into her skull, trying to rip her mind apart. She fell to her knees and begged for mercy, but no one came. No one could hear her. She was trapped in a nightmare. Then suddenly, everything went black. She woke up with a start. What was that? Was it a dream? She looked around her and realized that she was in her own room, her own bed. Thank God it was a dream. She thought she had escaped, but as she got out of bed, she noticed something strange. The walls of her room were now covered in the same strange pattern she had seen in the other room. The faces were now staring directly at her from just beyond her bedroom wall. She screamed and tried to claw her way through the wall, but it was no use. She was trapped. She ran to the window and tried to climb out of it, but it was locked. She could feel their eyes boring into her back, urging her to keep moving. She broke the window and climbed out, but as soon as she got outside, she realized that she wasn't in her backyard anymore. She was in a dark forest with gnarled trees that reached up towards the sky like skeletal fingers. She started to run, but as she did, she could feel their eyes following her, tracking her every move. She could feel their presence all around her, watching her, waiting for her to make a move. She didn't dare stop to look back. She just kept running deeper and deeper into the forest. She could hear their voices now, whispering to her, trying to lure her back. But she wouldn't listen. She couldn't listen. She had to escape. She ran until she couldn't run anymore. Then she collapsed onto the forest floor and cried. She cried out for help, but no one came. She cried out in fear, but no one listened. She cried out in pain, but no one could hear her. She was alone, and as she looked up at the sky, she saw that the sun was beginning to set. As darkness fell, the forest came alive with strange sounds. She could hear animals screeching and trees creaking. She could feel their eyes watching her from the shadows, waiting for her to make a move. She spent the night huddled on the forest floor, trying to stay warm and alive. In the morning, she woke up and realized that she wasn't alone. There were footprints in the dirt around her. Footprints that hadn't been there the day before. Someone had been watching her. Someone had been following her. She started to scream, but no sound came out. She tried to run, but her legs were heavy and slow. She couldn't outrun them. She collapsed onto the ground and looked up at the sky. Suddenly she felt a sharp pain in her chest, and she looked down to see a small cut on her arm. The cut was glowing faintly, and as she watched, it began to spread. She tried to scream, but no sound came out. She tried to crawl away, but it was too late. The glowing spread throughout her body, and she could feel her skin tearing apart. She could feel their eyes boring into her, ripping her mind apart. She closed her eyes and waited for the end. She opened her eyes and gasped. She was back in the white room, the room she had escaped from. She could still feel the pain in her chest, but it was fading fast. She quickly checked her arm and saw that the cut was gone. Had it all been a dream? She looked around the room and saw that it was changing again. The walls were rippling and the faces were reforming. But this time, they were different. Instead of being trapped in a nightmare, she was now in control. She could manipulate the faces on the walls, moving them around and changing their expressions. She could feel their eyes watching her, but she wasn't scared anymore. She was powerful. She changed the faces on the walls until they were all smiling. Then she walked towards the center of the room. In the middle of the room, the faces parted, revealing a door. The door was glowing faintly, and as she walked towards it, the light grew brighter. She reached out and touched the door, and as she did, she felt a surge of energy flow through her. The door opened, and she stepped through. She had no idea where she was going, but she knew that she was finally free.